I never thought I'd end up in Sing Sing for a crime I didn't commit, but there I was, slamming the cell door behind me on my first night, the clang echoing like a death knell for the life I'd built. My best friend, hell, my sister in all but blood, had pinned the whole mess on me, a multi-million-dollar embezzlement scheme from our Wall Street firm that she orchestrated while I was too busy covering her ass to notice the knife in my back. And the kicker? As I stared at the cold bars, I realized the real betrayal wasn't the lie she told the feds. It was the fact that I'd take the fall for her again if she asked, because that's what ride or die means in this godforsaken city, until it doesn't. That thought burned hotter than the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, fueling the rage that would simmer for 3 long years. But freedom came with a whisper of possibility. A crumpled business card slipped into my hand by a lifer in the yard, a ghost from Emily's past who knew exactly how to twist the knife back. One card, one name, Victor Hale, and suddenly, the power I'd lost in a boardroom betrayal was mine to reclaim, brick by bloody brick. The air in that intake room back in 22 still reeks in my nightmares, stale coffee from the guards' break room mixing with a metallic tang of fierce sweat from the new fish shuffling in chains. I remember the exact moment it hit me, like a freight train derailing in slow motion. Emily, blonde, blue-eyed Emily with her Ivy League smile and that laugh that could charm a jury, had called me from her corner office just hours before the cuffs clicked on. "Claire, baby, we've got this." She'd purred over the line, her voice all honey and high-stakes adrenaline. "Just sign the transfer docs like we planned. It's foolproof." Foolproof. What a joke. I trusted her because we'd clawed our way up from the same Bronx stoop, 2 girls from nothing, crashing the glass ceiling party at Sterling and Voss like we owned the joint. I handled the numbers, the audits, the late-night spreadsheets that kept our hedge fund humming. She handled the schmoozing, the backroom deals with the whales who swam in our waters. We were unbreakable, or so I thought, until the SEC came knocking about a $12 million black hole in the client accounts. It started small, a glitch in the wire transfers, or so Emily said. Russian oligarchs being cagey. She'd shrugged one Friday over martinis at the Dead Rabbit, her fingers drumming the stem of her glass like she was plotting a merger instead of a meltdown. I bought it because I always did, covered for her when she forgot, to log trades, fudged a report here and there to keep the bosses off her scent. Loyalty, right? In New York finance, that's currency rarer than a clean conscience. But that Monday, the glitch had a name. My name. The feds burst into the trading floor like it was a raid on a cartel safe house, badges flashing under the Bloomberg terminal's glow. Emily was there, perched on her desk in that red pencil skirt, eyes wide as saucers, but not a tear in sight. "Claire, what have you done?" she gasped, loud enough for the whole floor to hear, her hand fluttering to her throat like some Victorian damsel. The betrayal landed like a sucker punch. Me, the patsy, the workhorse who'd logged more overtime than God to make her shine. They dragged me out in front of everyone. Partners in Brioni suits averting their eyes, interns whispering about the crazy bitch who cooked the books. Emily testified like a pro, her voice steady as she painted me as the mastermind, the desperate climber who'd roped her into it with threats and tears. She said it'd ruin me if I talked. Emily sobbed on the stand, dabbing at her mascara with a tissue that probably cost more than my bail. The jury ate it up. White-collar witch hunt, American as apple pie and pitchforks. I got 5 years, down to 3 with good behavior, but those 36 months? They weren't just time served. They were a forge, hammering the naive Claire into something sharper. Something that cuts back. Sing Sing wasn't summer camp. Think razor wire fences hugging the Hudson, cells the size of walk-in closets, and nights where the screams from the yard blended with the trains rattling by like indifferent ghosts. I learned the pecking order quick. Don't snitch, don't blink, and always have something the guards want. Mine was poker, Texas Hold'em with contraband smokes as stakes, until I met Big Tommy. He was a relic, a 90s mob accountant doing life for laundering through Atlantic City casinos, his face a roadmap of regrets under the prison buzzcut. We'd play hands in the rec yard, him puffing on hand-rolled coffin nails while I scanned the razor tops for drones that weren't there. One humid August afternoon, as thunderheads rolled in off the river, He folded on a full house and slid that card across the scarred picnic table. Victor Hale. It read, embossed gold on cream stock, no title, just a Manhattan number and the faint scent of old money. Emily's daddy's fixer. Pulled strings to bury scandals back when she was still in pigtails. I stared at it, the ink blurring in the drizzle. Emily's dad? The shadowy real estate baron who'd bankrolled her Wharton tuition, the one she'd joked about, owing favors to the devil? Tommy leaned in, his breath like stale Chianti. Kid like you with your brains and your grudge? Hale's your Excalibur. But careful, he don't play for free. And Emily? She's got his blood. Makes her slippery as an eel in olive oil. That card became my talisman, tucked into the elastic of my jumpsuit, a promise etched in cardstock. I wrote letters I never sent, mapping the firm's downfall in the margins of library books, who got promoted in my absence, which deals Emily sealed with my stolen playbook. Parole hearing came like a blind date with bureaucracy, stiff suits grilling me on remorse, as if 3 years of regret tasted like chamomile tea. I've changed, Your Honor. I lied through my teeth, eyes locked on the panel like I was closing a $1 billion IPO. They bought it, signed the papers. And just like that, on a crisp October morning in 2025, I was spit out onto the streets of Ossining, free air hitting my lungs like a slap from an old lover. New York hadn't changed, still a concrete jungle where dreams go to get mugged. But I had. The subway ride back to the city was a blur of fluorescent hell and panhandlers hawking wilted roses, my duffel bag heavy with commissary soap and that card burning a hole in my pocket. I crashed at a halfway house in Harlem, the kind with curfews and group therapy circles that reeked of desperation. But I wasn't there to heal. I was there to hunt. First call, a burner phone from a bodega on 125th, dialing Victor Hale's line with fingers that trembled like a rookie's on the floor. Claire Donovan, I said when the gravel-voiced assistant patched me through, my voice steady as the Hudson at low tide. Silence stretched like taffy, then a chuckle, low and loaded, like he'd been expecting my ghost. Tommy's girl. Figured you'd surface eventually. What's the play, kid? Revenge or redemption? Revenge, I said, no hesitation. Emily's sitting pretty at Sterling and Voss, CEO in waiting on my corpse. I want her throne. Hale didn't flinch. Met me that night at a speakeasy off Wall Street, the kind where the walls whisper SEC violations and the whiskey flows like insider tips. He was older than I pictured, silver fox in a bespoke suit, eyes like a shark who'd seen too many shipwrecks, but his handshake was iron. Over scotches that cost more than my old rent, he laid it out. Emily's empire was built on sand. That embezzlement? It covered a deeper rot. Her father's offshore shells funneled through the firm, laundering Russian cash for Manhattan penthouses. I'd taken the fall to protect the family name, but Hale had the docs, emails, ledgers, a smoking gun that could torch them all. But why help me? I pressed, swirling the amber in my glass, the ice clinking like handcuffs. He leaned back, lighting a Cuban that probably cleared customs with a wink. Because Emily's a chip off the old block, ruthless, but sloppy. Thinks blood buys loyalty. It don't. And you? You're the wild card they never saw coming. Consider this pro bono. But when the dust settles, you owe me a favor. I nodded, sealing the pact with a clink of glasses. The plan crystallized over the next weeks. I'd infiltrate as a consultant, low on the totem pole, using Hale's forged creds to slip past HR's radar. Sterling and Voss loomed like a monolith on Broad Street, its lobby a cathedral of marble and malice, where I'd once traded barbs with the traders. Walking back in felt like returning to a crime scene. Same brass elevators humming up to the 42nd floor, same coffee cart slinging $8 lattes to suits who wouldn't spit on you if you were on fire. Emily's office was the crown jewel now, glass walls framing her like a queen bee in her hive. I caught a glimpse through the blinds on my first day. Her at the desk, legs crossed in Louboutins, barking orders into a headset while a junior licked her boots. Our eyes met across the open floor, hers widening like saucers, mine narrowing to slits. Claire, she mouthed, But I just smiled, the kind that promises hell in high heels, and clocked in. The tension coiled like a spring from there, every hallway glance a loaded chamber. She cornered me in the ladies on day 3, the air thick with Chanel No. 5 and unspoken sins. "What the fuck are you doing here?" she hissed, her manicure digging into my arm like talons. "Same as always, I replied, cool as the tile underfoot. "Cleaning up your messes." Her laugh was brittle, forced. "You served your time. Move on. This isn't your world anymore."
But it was.
Oh, it so very much was. Hale fed me intel like a drip for. Board minutes leaked via encrypted drops, whispers of an IPO that would mint Emily a billionaire if it cleared. My role? The ghost in the machine, tweaking algorithms in the back office, planting seeds of doubt in the audit trails. Whispers started. Discrepancies in the Russian wires, anomalies that pointed fingers at the C-suite. Emily's charm offensive ramped up. Lunches at Le Bernardin where she'd reminisce about our glory days, tears glistening like fake diamonds. "I did it for us, Claire. To protect the firm. You understand, right?" I played along, nodding over seared foie gras. But inside, I was telling the lies like debits on a ledger. The real hook, though, was the secret she'd buried deeper than her daddy's vaults. During my trial, she'd not just framed me, she'd seduced the lead prosecutor, a married wasp named Harlan Brooks, to bury exculpatory evidence. Hale had the photos, grainy motel stills that could end careers. But using them? That was the razor's edge, the decision that'd split you down the middle, expose the rot and watch innocence burn. Or play fair and let her slither free. Nights blurred into a haze of Red Bull and revenge porn, me hunched over a laptop in my sublet in Brooklyn, the Williamsburg Bridge mocking me with its lights like distant campfires. I'd dream of the trial, Emily's testimony looping like a bad acid trip. Claire was always jealous. She wanted what I had. Jealous? I'd built her pedestal, brick by spreadsheet, while she partied with the 1%ers. The Bronx girl in me, the one who shared stale Wonder Bread and dreams of escaping the projects, curled up and died that day, replaced by this hollowed-out Avenger staring back from the bathroom mirror. Hale called it the long con, but it felt like slow poison. By week 6, the board was jittery, anonymous tips to the Journal about irregularities, my subtle hacks making the numbers dance like drunk sailors. Emily knew it was me. Her emails to HR screamed sabotage, but Hale's strings pulled tight, keeping my job intact. "You're her blind spot," he'd growl over burner calls. "The friend she fucked over, but can't quit." The breaking point came at the holiday gala, Sterling and Voss's annual bacchanal at the plaza. Crystal chandeliers dripped light like liquid gold, waiters in penguin suits circulating caviar, and champagne flutes that cost more than a month's rent. I wore the black sheath from my pre-prison closet, still fit, thank God, and cornered her by the grand piano, where a jazz trio crooned summertime like it wasn't winter in hell. "Remember this?" I said, pressing a USB drive into her palm, the one with Hale's docs. Her face drained of color, the kind of pale that screams ghost. "Claire, please," she whispered, glancing at the schmoozers swirling around us like sharks in tuxes. "We can fix this. Like old times." "Old times?" I laughed, low and lethal. "You mean when you let me rot so you could climb?"
Na eminência.
This is payback, American style, slow, public, and poetic. She lunged then, not with fists but words, spilling the secret like bile. "It wasn't just the money, Claire. Dad was dying, pancreatic, stage 4. The laundering kept the medical bills paid, the experimental trials going. I framed you because you were strong enough to survive it. I wasn't." The room tilted, her confession a gut punch wrapped in velvet. Strong enough? To what? Be the sacrificial lamb for her silver spoon sins. But there it was, the twist that made my resolve waver. Photos on my phone from Hale, timestamped during my sentencing, Emily at her father's bedside, hollow-eyed and broken. Had she chosen me as the fall guy because she knew I'd endure, or because I was expendable? The line blurred, and suddenly, the gala felt like a funhouse mirror, reflecting two women who'd traded pieces of their souls for survival. I slipped away into the night, the USB burning in my clutch, the city a neon blur of what-ifs. Hale was waiting in a town car idling curbside, engine purring like a predator. "You hesitate?" he asked, eyebrow arched as I slid in. "She's human," I muttered, the words tasting like defeat. "Fucked up, but human." He snorted, offering a flask of something peaty. "So are we all, kid. But in this game, hesitation's a luxury. You pull the trigger or the bullet finds you." Back in Brooklyn, the plan fractured. I could have leaked everything. Docs to the feds, photos to the Post, watched Emily's world crumble in 72-point headlines. The board would have fired her on the spot. The IPO tanked. Hale's favor called in with a nod. Revenge, pure and simple, the kind that tastes like justice with a side of ash. But her words echoed, strong enough to survive. What if I'd been complicit all along, turning blind eyes to the red flags because loyalty was my drug? The what-ifs piled up like snowdrifts on Flatbush Avenue, burying the fire I'd nursed for years. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving, the kind of January light that makes you question every choice. I met Emily at our old spot, a greasy spoon in the Bronx where we'd split eggs Benedict and plot our conquests back when we were invincible. She looked wrecked, no makeup, hair in a messy bun, the CEO armor stripped to yoga pants and defeat. "I deserve whatever you do," she said over cooling coffee, her voice a threadbare whisper. "But don't destroy the firm. Hundreds of jobs, Claire. Real people. Like me?" I shot back, the spoon clattering in my saucer. "You destroyed me for your daddy's ghosts." Tears tracked mascara rivers down her cheeks. "He died 6 months after you went in. Last words? Tell Claire I'm sorry. I kept it from you, because I was ashamed and scared you'd hate me more." The hate cracked then, a fissure running straight to my core. She wasn't the monster I'd mythologized. She was just another cog in the machine, grinding herself down as much as me. But Hale's voice intruded, a ghost in my ear. Favors owed, power shifted. I could walk away, let the docs rot in a drawer, reclaim a sliver of normalcy, maybe even forgive, in that messy, American way where redemption comes gift-wrapped in therapy bills. Or I could drop the bomb, watch the fallout paint the skyline in shades of gray, and emerge the villain or the victor, depending on who wrote the obits. In the end, I chose the path that split the difference, the one that'd have strangers in bars arguing ethics over IPAs for years. I leaked a redacted version to the Journal, enough to force Emily's resignation, tank the stock 20 points, and drag her dad's estate into the spotlight without naming names. No jail for her, just disgrace, the slow bleed of a career eviscerated by scandal. Hale got his favor, a quiet merger with one of his shells, Sterling and Voss rebranded under new blood.
Me?
I walked into the sunrise on the D train, the business card shredded in a trash bin at Yankee Stadium, free but fractured. Was it justice?
Hell if I know.
Emily texted once, months later. "Thank you."
Or sorry.
Both.
I didn't reply.
In New York, endings aren't tidy. They're just pauses before the next deal goes south. And as the skyline swallowed the horizon, I wondered if the real power shift wasn't the card or the leak, but the choice to stop the cycle before it claimed us both. Or maybe that's just the lie we tell ourselves to sleep at night. The fallout from the leak hit like a nor'easter off the Atlantic, sudden, savage, and leaving wreckage in its wake. By noon the next day, Sterling and Voss was a meme factory on Twitter, Embezzlegate trending with photoshopped crowns on Emily's head and pitchfork emojis marching across feeds. I watched from a dive bar in Midtown, nursing a Bloody Mary that could have stripped paint, the TV above the stick blaring CNBC's postmortem. A house of cards, the anchor intoned, her Botox smile unwavering as stock tickers bled red. Emily's face flashed on screen, stoic and oppressor, reading from a script about accountability and moving forward. No tears this time, just the hollow echo of a woman who'd lost her script. My phone buzzed with unknowns, reporters sniffing for quotes, old colleagues offering pity pats or veiled threats. Hale's line stayed silent, his favor banked like a loaded gun in a safe. I ignored the noise, slipping into the shadows of freelance gigs, ghostwriting white papers for boutique firms that paid in crypto and confidentiality. It wasn't a corner office dream, but it bought anonymity, time to stitch the holes in my soul with thread borrowed from self-help podcasts and midnight runs along the East River. Emily vanished from the grid for weeks, her socials gone dark, that red carpet glow replaced by rumors of a Hamptons hideout funded by Daddy's last trust. I pictured her there, pacing beachfront decks, gin in hand, replaying the boardroom betrayals that led to this. Part of me pitied her, the girl who'd traded ethics for empire only to find both crumbling. The other part, the Bronx bread scrapper who'd done 3 years hard, savored the symmetry, the scales tipping back toward even. But revenge, I learned, is a greedy bitch. It doesn't stop at balance. It hungers for more, whispering doubts in the quiet hours. Was the redaction mercy or cowardice? Had I spared her out of some buried sisterhood, or fear that full exposure would drag me down too? Hale finally surfaced over dim sum in Chinatown, his chopsticks spearing Hargao like he was dissecting a deal. "Loose ends, Claire," he said, eyes glinting under the lantern light. "The feds are circling. Emily's talking, names, dates, the works. Your name's on the shortlist." Chills spider-walked my spine, the kind that remind you freedom's just a zip code away from bars. "She wouldn't," I muttered, but the words rang hollow. Emily's survival instinct was legendary. She'd flip on her own shadow if it kept the wolves at bay. Hale slid a folder across the Formica, depositions, wiretaps, a transcript where her voice cracked on my name. Claire knew. She helped cover it up. Lie or leverage. In the gray zone of white-collar war, truth was the first casualty. Panic clawed up from my gut, but I shoved it down with pure tea that tasted like regret. "What's the move?" I asked, flipping pages like a gambler scanning odds. He smirked, that shark's grin. "We accelerate. Full leak. Unredacted. Burn it all. She goes down swinging, you walk clean. My shells scoop the remnants for pennies." It sounded clean, surgical, the coup de grace to end the saga. But as I cabbed back to Brooklyn through the sodium-lit sprawl, the city felt less like home and more like a trap snapping shut. Emily's text from months back glowed on my lock screen. "Thank you."
Or sorry.
Both. What if the thanks was real? What if her flip was desperation, not malice, a drowning woman clutching at straws named Claire? I detoured to the old stoop in the Bronx, the one where we'd etched our initials into the concrete with a stolen lipstick back in '08. Snow dusted the steps like forgotten confetti, the projects looming unchanged, a testament to dreams deferred. Sitting there, knees to chest, I pulled up the full docs on my phone. Ledgers linking her dad's laundering to political PACs, bribes that oiled New York's machine from City Hall to Capitol Hill. Exposing it wouldn't just nuke Emily. It'd ripple, toppling donors, deals, maybe even a senator or two. The kind of controversy that makes headlines for months, divides dinner tables, and leaves you wondering if the cure's worse than the disease. Sleep was a non-starter that night, the sublet a cage of unpacked boxes and takeout ghosts. By 4 a.m., I drafted the anonymous drop to ProPublica, metadata scrubbed, VPNs layered like onion skin. One tap, and the dominoes would fall. Indictments, hearings, Emily in orange jumpsuit chic, her Hamptons exile swapped for federal holding. Justice, or just another layer of the con. The cursor blinked like a heartbeat, mocking my paralysis. Dawn found me at a 24-hour laundromat in Bed-Stuy, the dryer's rumble a poor substitute for absolution. An old lady folded her husband's shirts with hands gnarled as roots, humming gospel under her breath. "Choices, baby," she said, catching my stare. "They echo louder than you think." Her words landed like a benediction, or maybe a warning. I deleted the draft, the relief flooding in bittersweet as black coffee. But fate, that capricious New York bitch, had other plans. Hale's next call came encrypted, voice tight. "She's coming for you. Subpoena issued, your name, your testimony. Play ball with the feds or she drags you under." The choice crystallized then, sharp as a stiletto. Fight fire with fire, or let the blaze consume us both. I met Emily at neutral ground, a park bench in Central Park, Bethesda fountain misting the air like unresolved tension. She looked spectral, cheekbones sharper, eyes shadowed by whatever pills kept the wolves at bay. "Claire," she started, voice raw. "I didn't mean—" "Save it." I cut in, thrusting the unredacted folder at her. "Your move. Leak this yourself, come clean. Or I do, and we both burn." Her hands shook as she rifled the pages, the color draining like ink in water. Dad's legacy. The firm. It'll destroy everything. Like you destroyed me? The words hung, venomous and true. But her next sob cracked the armor. "I was pregnant, Claire. During the trial. His, Harlan's. I terminated it alone, because who wants a prosecutor's bastard in this mess? You were the only one I could have told." The world stuttered, her confession a grenade with the pin pulled. Pregnant? The golden girl, unraveling in silence while I railed against ghosts in my cell. Suddenly, the betrayal reframed, not just ambition's blade, but a woman's war against the world, choices carved from desperation. Did it excuse her? Hell no. But it humanized the monster, made the revenge taste like dust. "I can't," she whispered, shoving the folder back. "Not without you." The bench creaked under our silence, the city pulsing around us. Joggers in Lululemon, tourists snapping selfies, oblivious to the drama unfolding in their shadow. I could have walked, left her to the subpoena's noose. Instead, I pocketed the docs, stood. "Then we end it together." Press conference joint statement. Truth serum for both of us. Her nod was tentative, a truce in the trenches. Hale would be furious, his favor forfeit, his strings cut, but fuck him. This was our story, Bronx girls to the bitter end. The presser was a circus, cameras flashing like St. Elmo's fire, reporters baying questions in a cacophony that drowned out the heartbeat in my ears. Emily spoke first, voice steady as she laid bare the laundering, the frame job, her complicity in it all. "I betrayed my best friend to protect my family," she said, tears real this time, carving tracks down her face. "Claire Donovan served time for my sins. Today, I make them right." My turn. The fall. The forge of prison. The card that shifted sands. No mentions of Hale, no bombshells, just raw, unfiltered regret. The room erupted, but I locked eyes with her across the podium, a silent pact sealed in the chaos. Aftermath? Emily got probation, community service, scrubbing ledgers for nonprofits. The firm dissolved, assets auctioned to pay victims, mine included, a settlement that bought a one-bedroom in Queens, and a fresh start. Hale ghosted, his number dead air, but whispers say he's pivoting to green energy scams.
Me?
I write now. Thrillers about women who burn it all down, the royalties stacking like armor. Do I regret pulling back? On bad days, yeah. The what-if of total ruin keeps me up, arguing with shadows. On good ones, I see it as the ultimate power shift. Not destruction, but dismantling. Emily and I, we don't speak, but her Christmas card arrives yearly. A postcard from Paris, blank, but for a lipstick kiss. Sisterhood scars run deep, but they heal crooked, uniquely ours. In the end, the card wasn't the weapon. It was the mirror, forcing me to see the line between avenger and architect of ruin. New York's still a beast, devouring the unwary, but I'm wiser now, scarred, sure, but standing. And if another Emily rises? Well, let's just say I've got a Rolodex of ghosts, and mercy's not off the table. Not entirely. Spring thawed the city into a frenzy of bloom and bullshit, cherry blossoms papering the paths of the High Line like confetti from a botched wedding. My new life in Queens was a study in understatement, a walk-up with creaky stairs and a view of the 7 train rattling by, close enough to feel the vibrations, but far from the maw of Manhattan's grind. I traded spreadsheets for story outlines, pounding keys in a coffee shop that smelled of burnt espresso and ambition deferred. The settlement check cleared with enough zeros to buffer the lean months, but writing was the real rehab. turning the poison of my past into prose that paid the rent and quieted the nights. Emily's shadow lingered, though, a specter in the margins. Probation kept her leashed to the tri-state area, her days filled with court-mandated accounting for food banks and her nights, I imagined, haunted by the what-ifs we'd both voiced in that park bench confessional. A mutual avoidance pact held: no calls, no accidental run-ins at industry mixers. But New York being New York, paths crossed like subway lines at rush hour. It happened at a book launch in Soho. Mine, ironically, a debut thriller called Ledger of Lies, thinly veiled enough to raise eyebrows but not lawsuits. The venue was a converted warehouse, exposed bricks sweating under string lights, indie authors mingling with critics who wielded pens like switchblades. I was mid-conversation with a lit agent, her laugh a practice trill, when I felt it, that prickle on the nape, like eyes boring holes. Emily stood by the bar, nursing a seltzer, her blonde cropped short in a pixie that screamed reinvention. No Louboutins tonight, just flats and a linen shift that hung loose on her frame, the CEO curves softened by time or trial. Our gazes locked, the room narrowing to a tunnel. She approached slow, like approaching a half-tamed wolf, a slim volume clutched in her hand. My book, dog-eared at the betrayal chapter. "Claire," she said, voice pitched low against the jazz quartet's wail.
It's good.
Raw. I nodded, throat tight, the agent's exit a merciful blur. "What are you doing here?" "Supporting a friend." The word landed wry, a ghost of our old banter. Or former. And maybe scouting talent. "I'm starting a consultancy, ethical audits, pro bono for startups. Figured you'd get a kick out of the irony." I did, a bitter chuckle escaping. Ethical Emily, the punchline to a cosmic joke. We talked then, halting at first, like dancers relearning steps after a long hiatus. She spoke of therapy marathons, the grind of rebuilding a resume stained with scandal. Harlan's divorce was ugly, she admitted, stirring her drink with a swizzle stick. Blamed me for everything. But the termination. That was the real ghost. I see her sometimes in dreams. What if I'd kept her? The vulnerability hit like a rogue wave, washing away the last dregs of hate. "You did what you could," I said, surprising myself. We both did. A beat, then her hand on my arm, light, tentative. "Dinner?" "Not as enemies.
As
Survivors." I hesitated, the old instinct screaming trap. But the new Claire, the one who'd chosen mercy over mayhem, saw the olive branch for what it was. "Yeah," I said. "Survivors." Dinner became a ritual. Tuesdays at a hole-in-the-wall Sicilian in Astoria, plates of arancini and stories swapped like contraband. No deep dives into the dark days, just surface scratches, the latest publishing drama, her latest client save from IRS hell. It was fragile, this thaw, built on the bones of betrayal, but shored up with shared silences. For the first time in years, laughter felt genuine, not the performative cackle of boardroom warriors. Hail, meanwhile, simmered in the periphery, a rumor here, a dodged call there. Word on the street was he'd pivoted hard into venture capital, bankrolling AI startups that promised to disrupt disruption, while laundering his grudges through NDAs thicker than fog. My favor? Uncollected, but I felt its weight, a sword of Damocles dangling over every byline. One night, post-pasta, Emily dropped the bomb over tiramisu. Victor circling. Offered me a gig, off-books consulting for his new fund. Said you'd understand the terms. My fork paused midair, the cream turning to ash on my tongue. And I turned him down. Her eyes met mine, steady. We're done dancing to his tune. Both of us. The pact solidified then, unspoken but ironclad. No more puppeteers. We pooled resources, her audit chops, my narrative nose, to launch a side hustle, investigative pieces for online mags, exposing corporate underbellies without the full frontal assault. It was cathartic, turning the lens outward, shining light on the embezzle gates of tomorrow before they metastasized. But peace, in our line of work, is a sucker bet. The twist came courtesy of a manila envelope, unmarked, slipped under my door on a muggy July morning. Inside, photos, crisp and damning, me and Emily at dinner, timestamps from our first meetup, angles that screamed surveillance. Tucked in, a note in Hale's looping script. Favor called. Walk away from her, or these hit the tabs. Reunion of felons sells papers. Rage boiled up, hot and familiar. The old Claire clawing free. I could have torched it all, leaked his pivot scams to the Times, watched his empire echo Emily's in flames. But as I paced the apartment, the train's rumble a metronome to my fury, Emily's words from the park echoed. Without you. This wasn't just about him. It was the cycle, the endless loop of leverage and loss. I called her instead, voice steel. Hale's playing. Photos. Threats. Silence, then a sigh like wind through ruins. I knew it was coming. Let me handle.
No.
The word cut sharp. We handle. Together. The counterstrike brewed over the next fortnight, a pot of black coffee and bad ideas. Emily's networks unearthed Hale's Achilles, a green energy scam, solar farms in the desert that existed more on paper than panels, funded by pension pots he'd raided like a candy store. My bylines gave us cover. A deep dive pitched to Wired as investigative fluff, but laced with enough docs to trigger SEC hounds. We anonymized it, of course, ghost-written through proxies, dropped like breadcrumbs to watch the birds peck. The story broke on a Tuesday, Hale's fund imploding in a cascade of margin calls and class actions. He vanished stateside, whispers of a Riviera exile chasing tax havens. No direct link to us, but the satisfaction? Bone deep, the kind that settles scores without spilling blood. Emily and I celebrated with champagne on my fire escape, the Queen's night alive with fireflies and distant sirens. To loose ends, she toasted, clinking plastic flutes. To new chapters, I countered, the city sprawling below like a map of possibilities. It's been a year now, give or take. The scars faded to silver threads, the trust rebuilt one Tuesday at a time. Writing's my anchor, words weaving the chaos into coherence. Emily's consultancy thrives, a beacon for the burned who'd rather audit than arson. We don't talk futures much. In New York, tomorrow's a draft pick, subject to trade. But if I learned one thing from that business card's alchemy, it's this. Power isn't in the throne or the fall. It's in the choice to stand, crooked heel and all, with the ghosts you've half forgiven. Controversial?
Sure.
Some call it weakness, letting the knife wielder back in the fold. Others, grace. Me? I call it survival, American grit wrapped in a second chance. And if the next blade comes flashing, we'll see it coming together. Autumn painted the city in fire, leaves scorching the sidewalks of Prospect Park, the air crisp with the promise of change or chill, depending on your vantage. My second book dropped to middling reviews, the kind that praise your gutsy voice, while nitpicking the plot holes like a hungover editor. Sales ticked up anyway, buoyed by a podcast circuit where I spun the inspiration from my past indiscretions without naming the devils. Emily proofed the galleys, her red pen surgical, our collaboration a quiet rhythm that felt less like atonement and more like alliance. Life, though, has a way of yanking the rug, especially in a town where yesterday's headline is tomorrow's liner for the birdcage. The call came on a Thursday, Hale's ghost reanimated through a lawyer's mouthpiece, a summons to arbitrate his defamation claim, buried in legalese, but clear as a tabloid splash. Your article cost me $200 million, it accused, pinning the Wired piece on me with forensic zeal. Emily's name stayed scrubbed, my byline the bullseye. I met her at our Sicilian haunt, the arancini cold from neglect as I slid the papers across the checkered cloth. He's back, I said, voice flat. And he's got teeth. Her fore-covered, sauce dripping like blood from a fresh wound. We fight it. Pro bono attorneys from my network.
No.
The denial was reflexive, born from years of solo scrapping. This ends now. Full exposure. His scams, the card, everything.
No redactions.
Emily's eyes widened, the old fear flickering. Claire, that drags us all in. The pregnancy, the frame, it's Pandora's box. But the box was cracked already. Hale's gambit the pry bar. Nights blurred into research marathons, me in Queens, her in her Jersey walk-up, piecing the puzzle via encrypted chats. Turns out, the business card wasn't a one-off. It was Hale's calling card for a web of fixes, covering not just Emily's sins but a Rolodex of ruin. Senators in bed with oligarchs, CEOs laundering through his shells. Dropping it would be biblical. Flood the zone with FOIAs, tip the Times, watch the dominoes crater. The moral mire deepened with each revelation. Hale wasn't just a fixer. He was the architect of half the rot we'd railed against. Donations to PACs that greased Emily's dad's deals, backroom handshakes that shielded her trial lies. Exposing him meant exhuming skeletons we'd buried for peace. My prison stint as collateral, her termination as the unspoken casualty. It's not revenge, I told my reflection one dawn, bags under eyes like bruised plums. It's reckoning. Emily disagreed, our first real rift since the truce. Over video, her face pixelated with strain. Reckoning for who? You'll win the war, but lose the peace we built. Is that worth it? The question gnawed, a philosophical abscess. In the American dream's underbelly, where justice is pay-to-play and mercy a luxury good, was total truth liberation or just another betrayal? Friends weighed in. My agent called it brave. A bar buddy bats hit. Online, armchair ethicists would feast, splitting into camps. Team Claire the Crusader versus Team Compromise the Coward. Halloween loomed, the city costumed in excess, when Hale upped the ante. A leaked clip to TMZ, grainy audio of me in Sing Sing's yard, haggling poker with Tommy, whispers of Emily's card, audible enough to stir pots. The comments exploded. Snitch or saint? Wall Street witch redux. My inbox flooded. Publishers hedging contracts, dates ghosting mid-text. Emily's consultancy hit a snag too. Clients balking at the drama. Enough. I booked the red-eye to DC. Emily in tow, our alliance frayed but unbroken. The plan? Corner Hale's lobbyist at a Beltway fundraiser, dangle the full dossier in exchange for a stand-down. The venue was Beltway Baroque, crystal dripping from domes, power brokers and cummerbunds swapping secrets over crab cakes. We crashed as plus ones to a sympathetic Hill staffer, me in a borrowed gown that pinched like regret, Emily's pixie tucked under a wig that itched. Hale's proxy was a silver-haired weasel named Pritchard, nursing scotch by the punch bowl. Ladies, he drawled, eyes appraising like livestock. To what do I owe the pleasure? Truce, Emily said, voice velvet over steel, sliding a USB across his palm. Or apocalypse. He pocketed it smooth, but his smirk faltered at the metadata. Irrefutable chains linking his boss to felonies that'd make Enron blush. Victor's retired, he blanched. Riviera's got better beaches than Leavenworth. We pressed. Full retraction, no more shadows. He nodded, sweat beading under the chandeliers, and just like that, the summons evaporated, poof, into the ether of sealed settlements. Back in New York, the high crashed hard. Emily and I debriefed over diner pie at 3 a.m., the fluorescent buzz a confessor's hum. We won, she said, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. Did we? I countered, fork scraping porcelain. Or just delayed the next round? The rift widened from there, her pulling toward stability, me chasing the catharsis of print. My third book brewed, a nonfiction gut punch titled The Fixer's Ledger, anonymized but autobiographical, promising to air the Hale web without doxing the duo who'd danced in it. Emily begged off collaboration. Let sleeping dogs lie, Claire. We've got lives now. But lies fester, and the biggest was the one I told myself, that mercy was finite. Hale's retreat was tactical, not total. A month later, a shell company bid on my publisher, whispers of creative vetoes, to bury the manuscript. Emily's consultancy lost a whale client. Hale's revenge, oblique but unmistakable. The breaking point, a midnight meet at the old Bronx stoop, snow flurrying like dandruff from the gods. Emily arrived bundled, cheeks flushed. I can't do this anymore, she said, breath clouding. The paranoia, the looking over shoulders. Walk away from the book. From him. From us, you mean? The accusation hung, raw as exposed wire. She recoiled. It's not God, Claire, it's self-preservation. For both. The old fire reignited, the cards echo, power shifted, but at what cost? I could have relented, shelved the truth for our fragile peace. Instead, I handed her the galleys, final draft unsparing. Read it, then decide. She did, over a weekend of radio silence that stretched like taffy. Monday's text, it's brilliant. And it'll kill us. No plea, just fact. Publication day dawned bloody, headlines screaming Hale's empire as a decades-long grift. My byline the arrow. The blowback was biblical, lawsuits raining, my agent jumping ship, Emily's phone exploding with cancellations. She called once, voice shattered. Why? Because some debts demand collection, I replied, the line going dead. Hale slithered south, assets frozen, but not before a parting shot. Leaked trial transcripts, reframed to paint me as willing accomplice, Emily as victim of my obsession. The narrative flipped, public pity for the framed heiress, me the vengeful harpy. Book sales spiked, then cratered under boycott calls. Emily vanished again, this time for real. A job in London, ethical audits for the EU, her goodbye a single email. You were right. But so was I. Be free. Freedom tastes like fallout. Alone in Queens, the trains rumble my only company, words my weapon and my wound. The controversy rages. Podcasts debating if I liberated or libeled. Dinner parties splitting over, was it worth it? Hale's in exile, but his web lingers, a reminder that power's a hydra. In the quiet, I wonder, was the card a gift or a curse? Did I avenge or avenge too much? The mirror shows a woman etched with choices, crooked lines of a life reclaimed. No tidy bow, just the American grind, and unyielding. And if Emily calls from across the pond, maybe I'll answer. Or maybe not. After all, in this city of second acts, third chances are earned, not given.